I miss being a child. And when I say that, I don't mean being like a little toddler or, when I used to be a baby. I mean, like, I miss being a child when, growing up in the world, when I used to be outside with my friends and just, just being a kid, playing outside, skateboarding and scootering all over town. Basically going on a lot of side quests. That's kind of what I miss, just the adventure of being a child, being a kid. Now I'm 24. I have a lot of responsibilities, I got bills to pay. I got a lot of things I got to take care of, just like everybody else in the world. But kind of what sucks now is that I'm kind of put to a point where I can't really be a child anymore. Like I'm pretty much holding the standard at my age where I have to be a grown up. I have to take care of all my responsibilities. I have to take care of my bills. I got to make sure get to work every day. I got to make sure that I'm always progressing and always finding a way to move forward in life. Where back when I was a kid, none of these were my worries. My only worry was, am I going to be able to go outside today? Or, what my next homework assignment was, or, whatever the case may be. But, all those worries have basically just died down. And, it has its pros and cons, like before, basically now, like when you're a young kid growing up, you kind of, you have a big group of friends, you guys are, doing everything together. And then, as you get older, one by one, a door kind of closes on each friend. And you get stuck with like maybe one or two friends who are actually your real friends, and that's pretty much all that really is. And all those friends that you grew up with, having memories with, are kind of just gone, just like that. Memory in the wind. That's it. No more. They don't exist really. It's basically like they don't exist. I wouldn't, I'm not gonna say they don't exist, but sometimes that's just what it feels like. Like they just genuinely don't exist anymore. It's not really just for like. Obviously, if I didn't have to, I wouldn't. I don't want to have responsibilities because it just causes a lot of stress, anyways. But I really genuinely do just miss being a child. Besides the whole responsibility thing, like I said, but just being able to just enjoy life and just. I wouldn't say I'm not happy now, but I was a lot happier when I was a child. I definitely had more friends. I definitely had more things I was able to do. Things I wouldn't get looked at or called weird, or just really not really too much of a care in the world. I don't know really how to explain it, but if you know, kind of. And now it's just right. Back then, life is passing you by so slowly, and you're just growing up, and you're able to experience everything kind of once, and you're going through everything for the first time. And now, like in a way, I kind of feel like just like Squidward. Kind of just, you remember, I don't know if you guys watched that episode, but that episode where he's kind of like he gets into like that really nice area, and he's kind of just like the daily routine over and over and over. And I feel like for me, that routine is kind of what just not killed my inner child, but it definitely like dimmed it down a big handful. And I don't know, I just miss being able to go, be out with my group of friends, some that I don't talk to anymore, and just be out in a super happy environment, and just being able to be a kid and being able to express myself super freely, and kind of just enjoy life the way I wanted to, just not really be held accountable anymore. Unfortunately, that's not the case anymore. I'm all grown up. Like I said, I got I got bills and responsibilities just like everybody else in the world, but there's times where I genuinely do miss being a child. I've said this over and over and over many times in this video, but I genuinely do just miss being a child. Life was so much simpler. Life was so much funner. There was more things to do when you're a child. As you grow up, you don't really get to do too many things. But then there's also like, you're also not able to do also as many things as you get to do as you're when you're an adult, as when you're pretty much a child and a young kid growing up. Anyways, I want to thank everybody for all the good feedback I got in the last video. I appreciate all the comments everybody leaves. I read all of them. I reply to all of them. I do my best. And try to connect with everybody who comments on my videos. I appreciate everybody that likes and takes the time out of their day to watch them. I don't ever take any of this for granted. Even though this is a hobby of mine, still just to be able to have a little bit of a fan base and people who genuinely care to watch my videos every time I upload. I thank you guys from the bottom of my heart. So I just want to take this time to thank you guys. And I know I've been away for about a week, and I've been kind of busy with work and stuff, but I don't want to keep this too long. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I know it's a lot shorter than others, but as always, like I've always said, let me know what you guys think. Let me know what your guys' past experiences are. How it is, when you were growing up as a child and how everything is now. And I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace.